welcome back to the Mackem in the Middle podcast after another Sunderland League game, this time at home against last year's rivals Wigan Athletic. 2-1 win, a game in which we did go 1-0 down to a Charlie Wyke goal. And of course, as usual, get into everything that happened during the game, after the game, and a brief look ahead to the next game, which is of course away to Blackburn on Tuesday night, live on Sky. But first and foremost, Dylan, I said before the game that this is a must-win game. I said that this is a game that we should be expected to win and would be disappointed if not. Luckily, it went that way. We got the 3 points. But there were still quite a few people after the game that seemed to disagree that we needed to win this one.
Yeah, no, I didn't quite get that. I mean, obviously, we all said at the start of the season there was probably only two games that we were going to be the favourites for. Well, that is obviously at the start of the season. I know we've had a good start to them, but at first we were only really expected to beat, say, Rotherham at home and then Wigan at home, which obviously, thankfully, we've done both. But I mean, I think it didn't help the sort of run of form we had coming in. Obviously, it was like the 3 draws and the loss, so it would have been no wins in 5 had we not won yesterday. So I think in that regard, definitely a must win. But also just to get a bit further back up the table, because obviously we went from playoff spots to being, well, if we'd lost yesterday, we would have been about 15th within the space of 3 games. So I think it's really put a stop to any sort of negative momentum that we had. So I would agree that it was definitely a must win yesterday, and I'm delighted that we got the result.
Yeah, I think I think we're 5 points from top, but 7 points from third bottom as well. So that's how tight it is in the middle. But again, Wigan were a team we beat 3 times last season. Obviously once in the cup, twice in the league. Obviously this season when you're in the Championship, the expectations, you have to have some kind of realism about it. But there seemed to be quite a few people that would have been happy with the draw out of that game, which I'm just not quite sure why. Because like I say, we beat them 3 times last season. I think it was Alex Neil. Was it one of Alex Neil's first games? That
I
the
think
away
so.
game. I think that was 3 or 4-0, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was when we like proper put them to the sword.
Yeah, and like I say, there has to be a sense of realism in some games, but for some people not to think that we were expected to win that and should have won that, it is just something that I haven't quite got my head around.
Yeah, no, I agree. Obviously, as you said, we've had a good record against them in the past for the past year or so, and then obviously, yeah, they've had a decent start of the season for what was probably expected of them. They were probably one of the teams that were expected to be a bit closer to the bottom, and I think they found themselves. I think they were about 10th or 11th before the game yesterday, but obviously they're in 14th now, which after coming up from League One, still a very good spot for them to be in. But yeah, no, I would have been fuming with anything less than 3 points, and so I don't get why people would have been happy with the draw. I think it was just sort of the mentality that everyone was expecting about a goal each from Broadhead, Wyke, and McLean. So people had probably already accepted that we maybe just because of typical Sunderland weren't going to get the win, so we're mentally preparing to be walking away with less than 3 points. But no, definitely on paper, 100% have to win that game, and obviously we did exactly that, which is ideal.
Yeah. We'll get into what happened during the game and we'll keep it as short as we can to get through this as fast as we can. In order of what basically happened during the game, first thing that really happened, obviously Sunderland started fairly well, obviously got better as the game went on, but I think the first real thing that happened was just about halfway into the first half when Elliot Embleton went into a tackle with Charlie Wyke. Probably, if that was the other way around, you'd want a red card, and I think we might have got away with one on that one. In
Yeah,
modern day football, anyway.
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the sort of decisions that you see get given nowadays, I wouldn't have been surprised if he'd been sent off for it. But I mean, they both, from the way I saw it, they both went for the ball, and then obviously he's caught him. They both left their foot in, and he's obviously caught him. And to be fair, it did look quite nasty, but I don't think there was any sort of malicious intent there. So I mean, nowadays, yeah, you'll probably see that getting given as a red, but I think back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago, when referees weren't soft as shite, that would have just been waved to play
Yeah.
on. So I
I don't
mean,
know. I don't even think the referee actually gave the foul. I think it was the fourth official that gave it.
Yeah, no, to be fair, he was as the referee multiple times yesterday was just looking over the linesmen and the fourth officials to see what they were thinking. Like honestly, I don't think he had a clue what he was doing. To be fair, but I was pleased to see to see that he didn't send him off, but it wouldn't have shocked us because it would have just been our luck. One of the must win games and we get our midfielder sent off.
Yeah. Um, I said we're going to do this in order. I can't actually remember if this happened before or after that, but Pat Roberts put the ball in the back of the net, which was obviously ruled offside, and I don't think anyone really knew whether it was on or off during the game with how fast it happens. But the pictures obviously come out after, get posted on Twitter. He looked onside, and luckily we're not not talking about that as a kind of defining factor of the game because we got 3 points. But again, we'll get on to the referees and what was given, what wasn't given. But that goal should have stood based off what you've seen on Twitter.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the time, I thought it was onside because where I'm sat, I was basically just in line with the pass as it was played. So I was sort of in my half paying attention because I wasn't even expecting to be able to make the ball through. But at the time, I thought it was onside. But then obviously it's been disallowed and can't really be helped obviously because we don't have VAR or anything like that in this division. So the
Yeah,
decision's been made. But as I said, as you've just said there, it's one of those ones where if that game ends 1-0 or 1-1, then we're looking at that decision thinking like we've been robbed of a point
mm,
or 3 points, and we'd be fuming about it. But thankfully, we've had ourselves in a position where we don't need to let the poor decisions of the referees impact the result of the game.
yeah. And obviously, them two things were the refereeing decisions, so we might as well get onto it now. They were shocking again, weren't they? I mean,
Yeah,
I think Anthony Patterson got booked for time wasting when he took, I think, about 20 seconds to take a goal kick. No warning, nothing like that from the referee, straight yellow card. Whereas Wigan had literally been doing it for the first 65 minutes, I think it was.
yeah, no, I didn't really get what the ref thought he was doing. And as you say there, with that booking for Patterson, he sort of just took a few steps back to prepare for his kick,
Yeah,
assessing his options as where to put it. And the referee's just, as you said there, with no warning, give him a booking, which obviously he got adequate amounts of stick for. But I mean, that combined with the time, I forgot what exactly happened, but I remember the ball had gone out, and the referee was like right next to it, and he's just stuck about 5 seconds and looked over at the linesman, waited for him to flag either way, and then made his
yeah,
decision based on that. And it's just it is poor every week, and obviously it's not like oh, poor Sunderland getting these bad referees. Because to be fair, every team in this division's getting ridiculous
mm,
decisions like that. But I mean, it's just getting a bit embarrassing at this point. It's like it's every division. Obviously, I see some Premier League decisions, the ones we had in League One last season and the Championship. I think just the quality of refereeing in general is just on a bit of a decline at the moment. Like,
yeah. I think John touched on it the other week. It's not necessarily the decisions that get given, it's the fact that they don't give the same decisions throughout the game. And again, the time waste is probably the best example of it. You know, I think Preston did it, Blackpool did it, Wigan did it, where they're time wasting for, a good 60, 70% of the game, get away with it. As soon as Sunderland took the lead, the referee was quick to speed the game up, quick to book players for time waste, and quick to tell players to get up when they're injured or whatever it was. And there's no consistency in any of the decisions that get given.
yeah, no, you've hit the nail on the head there. There's just lacks consistency completely, and I mean, like as you've just said there, like it's one rule for one rule for another. Sometimes it appears. So I think they all just need to sort themselves out, like or maybe get themselves on a few extra courses to sort their abilities out because the referees at the minute are absolutely shocking.
Yeah. Before the game, obviously there was going to be the story of ex-players coming back, and Wigan definitely have plenty of them. I think they have 6 ex-players: Wyke, Broadhead, Power, McLean, and Fletcher, so 5. So the chances of one of them scoring, if Wigan did score, were quite high, and that's exactly what did happen late in the first half. Probably the worst time to concede, as it was about a minute or two before the half-time whistle went. Even worse, it was Broadhead that played it to McLean, played it into Wyke, who obviously got the goal. At the time, again, hindsight is a good thing, but at the time in the stadium, whether you're watching at home, wherever you were watching it, you do kind of look at that goal and think, here we go again. This is the story that's meant to happen out of this game.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like it seemed almost written in the stars, and I'm pretty sure that before Broadhead put it to McLean, Power passed it to Broadhead as well. So all four of them just linked up for the goal, and it was just it really. really knocked me morale. I was quite optimistic even after a bit of a shaky first half. I thought, oh, if we can just come out the oh, what's the way? Anyway, come out the blocks in the second half. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe get an early goal, and then obviously we've conceded later on. And it's just put a real stop to any sort of positive momentum that we could have had going. And I mean, I was sat for the 15 minutes at half time, just miserable as out.
yeah,
And I thought, I'll probably end up conceding another one or two here. But obviously, thankfully, that's not what happened. But still, it's not ideal to be conceding that sort of goal at that sort of time in the game, is it?
yeah. And I mean, I probably wouldn't be saying this had the game finished 1-0 or 1-1, but we did win, so you can have somewhat of a different view on it. Whether you like him or love him, whether you hate him, it was good to see Charlie White back playing.
Yeah, it was obviously he's been through a really, really tough time. He's come out stronger. He's come in the championship. He's scored a couple of goals for them. I mean, I still wasn't delighted to see him knee sliding in front of our fans like
Yeah,
obviously when he scored. That's always going to knock you if it's 16 a former player celebrate. But obviously, as much as he did have the applause. He also got a bit of stick, and I suppose it was a similar thing as when Darren Ben came with Burton. Came, the fans gave him a bit of stick, and he's obviously scored and celebrated accordingly. So I mean, fair play to him. But as I said, I don't think I would have been so graceful had that been the winner on their side.
yeah. And I think I've never quite understood this whole ex-player not celebrating because and booing players, and some players might get booed. Jack Rodwell, if he ever turned back up the stadium light, everyone would have the right to, because he came here, he didn't want to play, he took the wage, feigned injuries, and just didn't want to be here. But at the end of the day, the players that came here did exactly what they were paid to do, did nothing more, did nothing less, left the club, and now they're opponents. That's it at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's just how it goes. But then, as you say there, though, they're opponents. So, like, I remember when Broad had first signed for Wigan, some of our fans were on Twitter going, "Oh, anyone who gives them a bad reception at the stadium, like needs to have a look at themselves," like going on like that. And I just think, yeah, fair enough, he played for us, but on the day. They're an opponent, so I'm going
Yeah,
to give them just as much stick as I would anybody else on the pitch because that's what the whole point of having that home atmosphere is for. You're meant to unnerve, meant to unsettle the opposition. So whether they scored a few goals for us last season or not, they're the enemy on the day as far as I'm concerned.
yeah. And I think you kind of saw that when White went off. Obviously, he was booed during the game because he's an opponent. You don't want to encourage him, which probably isn't the best thing to say, because I think Bowen does exactly that, as we saw. But obviously, he went off, he got applauded off the pitch, and I think a lot of that is down to the fact that, everything that happened in the past kind of 12 months, he's back playing, he's back scoring goals, unfortunately, against us. But moving on, second half, we made a change. Ahmad came on for Gooch, and Tony Mowbray said after the game that that was probably the best performance he's had in a Sunderland shirt. And obviously, he didn't do too much in the final third, and I think that is something that probably falls down to confidence and lack of. But in
Mhm.
terms of the way he worked, in terms of the way that he picked the ball up and played it, probably is one of the best games he's had so far.
Yeah, definitely. He looked a bit better, but to be fair, that's not saying too much. And I don't think he's really hit the ground running at all so far. But I mean, the thing for me with him is you can see he's got the agility, he's got the quick feet, he gets forward. But I think he always just tries to take one or two touches too many before just
Yeah.
getting a shot off or putting the final ball in. It was like the one a couple of weeks ago. Was it? I can't remember if it was either Preston. I think it was Preston
Mm.
where he sort of beat about three guys and he could have just put it far post. And instead, he took the extra touch to try and take it back around the approaching defender when he should have just hit it first time. So it's like I do think his confidence has obviously been hindered a bit by maybe he didn't have the best of spells with Rangers last season, and he hasn't really had consistent minutes for us yet. So I think once he gets one goal, if he gets one goal, then that might spur him on a bit. But yeah, he's definitely showed an improved performance yesterday, and I hope he can kick on a bit from there because obviously Man United don't spend sizable like transfer fees on just anybody. He's been highly rated, obviously, when he came through at Atalanta. So clearly, there's a player there. We just need to try and unlock his potential, I suppose.
Yeah. It didn't take too long into the second half for them changes to kind of work. Obviously, switching formation to a back four. Obviously, Lise playing the left centre back, Dennis Circle playing the left back. And it was him that was involved in the second goal. I think it was, I want to say it was Pritchard, but I could be wrong on that. Pritchard plays it through to Dennis Circle, and Circle crosses it into Elliot Embleton, and it's 1-1. At a good time as well, like I say, about 10 minutes into the second half, so plenty of time to go and get that second goal to take the lead. But on that equalising goal, I think Elliot Embleton is a player that does get stick, and I do think he does go missing in times. But for him to be in the box in games like this, because obviously we don't have that striker, we don't have Ross Stewart who will be in the box at all times. If you put the ball in, he's going to be there. To have bodies in the box like we did for that goal was important because ultimately that's why we got the equaliser.
Yeah, no, definitely. Obviously, you've just said it there, but that's the problem we've had recently without not having any strikers. Is that, yeah, our wing play is excellent and we can get down and get a crossing, but half the time there's either nobody there to get on the final ball, or they just get bullied by the defenders. So obviously for Emmerton to just get in there, find the space, and then put it in the back of the net. That's exactly what we've been missing, and that's what we would have been doing all match had we had someone like Stewart or Sims on the pitch.
Yeah,
So the fact that someone's there who can still make a difference, getting in the box, getting on the end of chances, it's excellent. I just hope him and other players can start doing it more often while we wait for our strikers to get back.
yeah. And once again, it wasn't too long after the equalising goal that Sunderland did take the lead, and I don't think anyone would disagree that we deserved it. I think even Wigan fans after the game were kind of questioning the way they went about the second half, kind of everyone behind the ball. Obviously, Charlie White was subbed off, and Josh McGuinness came on, who, quite frankly, I don't think it's out of place to say he's probably the worst player I've seen turned up at the Stadium Light so far this season. He had absolutely nothing about him bar the foul. Um, but we got the second goal. It was a free kick that we won. Again, probably very poor refereeing in terms of the fact that we've took a quick free kick from about 10 yards further away than where the foul was committed. But the referee's allowed play on, given it to Pritchard, who's taken quite a bit of stick recently, and somewhat deserved, somewhat not deserved, because I think with Pritchard, he's very important in build-up of goals. Again, I mentioned, I could be wrong on this, so I might be digging a hole here, but I think he was involved in the build-up for the first one. But obviously, gets the assist for the second. Like I say, quick thinking, he whips the ball into the back post where Dennis Serkin is there, um, and it's 2-1. Good header. And I think there was someone on BBC Newcastle rang in after the game and described him as a goal machine, which I'm not sure is the best way to describe someone that just scored his first senior goal. But nonetheless, it was a good goal, important time, and probably one of the better players, well, definitely one of the better players on the day, Dennis Serkin.
Yeah, no, definitely. I thought he was absolutely excellent yesterday, and obviously just fresh back off the injury. It's excellent to see he's just come back on and had an impact straight away. Because obviously we've seen before, if when a player's been out for a couple of weeks, to come back to maybe take a couple of games to get back up to speed, but he's come in and he's got a goal contribution, and he even not including the goal, he put in an excellent performance. And to just on Pritchard there, as you were just saying, it was his quick thinking that basically got us that goal. And it's I know he's had a bit of stick this season, and I've said that I've not been too pleased with him this season in terms of, for example, it was the chance he had at Borough when you'd be expecting a player of his quality to just bury the chance and he's missed. It was just
Yeah,
a few things like that. Obviously, I think he's yet to actually score this season. I believe. I can't remember him scoring yet.
I don't think so.
No, exactly. He's up. So, but I mean, even when he's not contributing, it's always beneficial to have him on the pitch because it's just the football and IQ, just the intelligence he has. Like for example, what he did yesterday, just the quick thinking, and just get the ball over. He's seen Circle in space, and he's just quickly smashed the ball in, and obviously it's led to a goal. So I mean, it was excellent from all involved.
Yeah. And again, very similar to the first goal. It's just about getting people in the box. And when Ross Stewart's there, or when Ellis Sims is there, I think Pritchard's far more useful, and you kind of notice him more because he can pick someone out in the box,
Mhm.
and that's exactly what he did for the goal. It was an excellent cross to the back post. Dennis Serkins, chancing it. He's at the back. When you put a ball in a box like that, if you're under pressure as a defender, even if Dennis Serkin doesn't win that, it forces the defender to make a decision that could have ended up in an own goal or anything. And it's just having that player that can pick out a pass like that, whether he's on form, whether he's off form, proves why he probably should stay in the team, regardless as to the kind of goal contributions that he's getting.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's always got that sort of moment of magic in him. Like he can just he's one of those players who's got the ability to just turn the momentum of the game on his head with one intelligent pass through, or obviously like he did there with that free kick. So I think having him on the pitch is always better than having him on the bench. I just hope that after a very good performance yesterday, he can kick back on and we can see more of what we saw last season, where he's getting goal contributions, he's taking players on, and he's like shooting from distance as well. Obviously, he's had a few free kicks this season. He's just sort of got nowhere near. And I know he scored like two back-to-back in League One last season, and then after that, I don't think he's actually scored one since. So I think it was just a bit of a myth that he was really good from free kicks, but he's got a good set piece delivery in him in terms of like getting the ball in. Obviously, we've got some big defenders like Danny Barton that, so it's just having him on there. He's got so many things that he can contribute, and just hopefully he can keep improving his form.
Yeah. Obviously, it did finish 2-1 to Sunderland, and like we say, 3 points to take us up to eighth. Or have I made that
Something
up?
like eighth or ninth.
Ninth, it is. Ninth. No, so that's 5 points from top. But again, at this stage of the season, I wouldn't look too much into that because, like I said, right at the start, we're also 7 points from 22nd. So
Yeah.
championship is tight. Um, but that's now just the one defeat in the last 6 games for Sunderland. Granted, I think there's been 3 draws and obviously 2 wins. One of them at home against Wigan yesterday. Without the strikers that we've got, without Ballard, obviously Dennis Serkin's only just come back. Them results, you can look at some of them. Probably the Blackpool one as a disappointing one. Probably would have liked to see us win that game, but to have won, 3-0 away to Reading, 2-2 away to Watford, one of the teams that will be up there come the end of the season, regardless where they are now. We're not faring too badly without a striker, results wise.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And I think obviously what we all said when Stewart and Sims got injured was that if we could just hold on and keep grinding out results until they get back, then we'll be absolutely fine this season. And that's what we're doing. Obviously, getting a few draws in a row is not ideal, but that's 3 more points than we would have had if we'd lost them all. So the fact we're still getting goals, getting decent performances in, despite not having that focal point up front that's been so crucial for us earlier on in the season in Ross Stewart. I mean, it's not obviously it's been a few weeks now. Hopefully not too much longer till Sims is back. After I believe he's training again, or he's about
I
to
think he
start
is,
training
yeah.
again. Yeah. So I mean, if we can just hold on a couple more games, maybe I think we should be absolutely fine.
Yeah. Player ratings we'll get into now, just before we get into a look ahead to Tuesday's game, which, like I said, is away to Blackburn. Starting with Patterson, obviously, like I said, got that yellow card for time wasting, which, quite frankly, was mind blown at the time. Made a few saves, important saves, and again, just showed why he deserves to stay as Sunderland's number one.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that was one of his better performances of the season. He looked a lot more confident in terms of coming off his line, like commanding his area. Because obviously half the goals that he's conceded in this season has been from maybe a ball's come in and he's come out to try and claim it and sort of change his mind and try to go back on his line and just got caught in no man's land. So to
Mm,
see him more confident in that regard is definitely very nice to see, because it's always really disappointing when he concedes a goal in that manner, because we know he's got the quality to make those sort of saves. So I think he was very good yesterday. I'll probably give him a 7. Obviously he's conceded, but there wasn't too much he could have done. It was quite a good finish,
yeah,
to be fair.
yeah. Lyndon Gooch obviously went off at half time with an injury, and hopefully that isn't too long because we don't need many more of them between now and the World Cup. But we probably looked better when he did go off, and I don't know whether that was. I don't think that was necessarily down to him. I think it was down to the change of shape mainly. But based on the 45 that he was on the pitch, I thought it was a probably below average performance compared to what we've seen recently. But I don't think he did much wrong.
Yeah, no, he was all right. He wasn't outstanding. He didn't really get the chance to get forward as much as he normally likes to. And obviously he only played half the game, so we can't really hold this performance down to him. But there was obviously come the end of the half, we were 1-0 down and we hadn't done much going forward, so probably just have to give him a 5.
Yeah. Lugo 9 again started at the back, started at the centre back. And obviously, like we say, when we changed shape, when Gooch went off, I think you moved over to right back. And you did kind of credit Pritchard for quick thinking for the second goal. But I think it was actually 09 that took the free kick into Pritchard. Um, so again, he's a player that people probably still don't like. Certain people and probably will never like, but he's been as solid as ever this season. He's looked, people didn't know whether he could, be a starter in the championship, and I think he's probably been one of our most consistent performers so far this season.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'll hold my hands up and admit that at the start of the season, I didn't think he'd be anywhere near the squad. Never mind in the capacity of playing as a centre back. But it's one of them ones. What he sort of lacks in, I don't want to say talent because obviously he's still a professional footballer, but what he lacks in talent compared to the likes of your Ballards, your Danny Barts, things like that. He just makes up for it in his work ethic. And I mean, he was winning some headers against some very big lads
Yeah.
yesterday. So fair play to him.
Absolutely bodied James McLean on one occasion as well.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just what you love to see. I was probably going to give him a 6, but you've just reminded us that your body, so he has to get a
Easy
plus
eight.
1 for that. So we'll give him a 7. We'll give him a 7.
In the middle, Danny Bart, who again was excellent, won his headers. You'll always see that he's not the fastest player in the world, but he's probably been, again, similar to O'Nien, one of some of the most consistent performers this season. And, you know, if we were to do a podcast talking about the players that have impressed so far this season, guarantee Danny Bart wouldn't get a mention, but he's definitely been one of the most important players that we've had.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love Danny Bart, mate, and the lads I sit with yesterday we were saying he's been one of, if not one of our players of the season. And I mean, it just shows that he is a very solid Championship defender. Obviously, I know he took the drop down to League One to join us, but I mean, back when Wolves were on the up and they were playing this sort of back five. With the three centre backs, he really shone for them as well. And obviously, I know we had that change of shape to the four, but the fact he can sort of perform well in both just bodes well for any potential change of shape we might make going forward when all of our players are back and fit. But yeah, I thought he was outstanding yesterday. I'll probably give him an 8. Yeah.
Yeah. Alongside him, obviously, Alessi again. Um, and he was excellent again, got forward well, defended well, showed his pace. I think there was another good tackle, I think it was on McGuinness right at the end of the game where he again showed his pace. Big tackle. Um, Obviously won the ball back for Sunderland, and I think we only paid about 500,000 for him
Yep.
first time. And like a few people said, even if you'd paid 10 times that, say you've paid 5 million for him, you're looking at that as one of the bargains of the transfer window for Sunderland. The fact that we've got him for so little, such a young age. I think he played for West Ham. I think it was in the Europa League or the Europa Conference League
Mhm.
prior to obviously signing for us. He can go on to be a very, very good defender. And, Christian Speakman will get stick whenever results don't go well because of the striker situation. But for what he's done wrong in that regard, he's certainly made up in other ways.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, as you say there, 500,000 is an absolute bargain for a player of his caliber, and he's come on leaps and bounds. He just keeps improving. He's looking better every single game he plays. He's been outstanding recently, and he's just massive as well as being rapid. And when he's been playing the wing back and he's doing that overlap, he just reminds me of Eunice Kabul, and I love
Yeah,
him. So I'm going to give him a 7.
yeah, that is fair. Dennis Cirkin obviously back after I feel like he's been out for quite a while, probably a couple of months, I think. Obviously played for the under-23s the other week, so his match fitness won't have been great, but that was probably one of the better games he's had for Sunderland as well. And he got the goal, got the assist. You couldn't ask for much more for a defender.
Yeah, no, definitely. As you said, got the assist, also scored the winner, was solid defensively. Straight after coming back from an injury, he was absolutely excellent. And I mean, goal contributions from a defender in a 2-1 win. Like we've got to give him an 8. Like, in fact, no, we're going to give him a 9 because he was my man of
Yeah.
the match. Yeah.
And I think when we signed Dennis Irvine, obviously, I think we paid something like very similar to release here, kind of 600,000. Tottenham had a
hmm
6 million buyback clause. People saying, yeah, if Tottenham buy that out and sign him again, good business from Sunderland.
hmm
That's starting to not be the case, is it? Because 6 million for Dennis Cirkin. I think it was you that put it in the group chat. Actually, look at Jed Spence. Is he as good as Jed Spence? I don't know. Haven't really seen too much of him, but he's 20 years old. I think he plays for, or certainly played for England's kind of under 23s, 21s, 22s. I don't know what they are nowadays.
hmm
But he's improving with every game. His versatility, he can play left centre back, he can play left back, he can play on the wing back. He is probably more than a £6 million player now.
Yeah, no, definitely he's more than a £6 million player, and that's sort of the problem with it because even if Spurs don't see him as a signing for them anytime soon, obviously he's been linked with Brentford recently.
Yeah,
All it takes is was one of those clubs to go to Spurs and just to say to Daniel Levy, listen, recall him for take him back for that £6 million, and we'll give you 10, 15 million straight away,
yeah,
and that's an easy £9 million profit for them. Do you know what I mean? So if he keeps playing this well and has a very good rest of this season, or even the good next season, it really doesn't bode well that 6 million buyback we might have bit of a sticky situation on our hands. Should Spurs take a look at that and decide it's worth bringing him back. But I mean, obviously, hopefully he's enjoying his time here, and
Yeah.
if just because that clause is there doesn't mean he has to go. Should they come in for him? So let's just keep him as happy as possible and just tell him, give him no reason to want to go anywhere else, and hopefully he'll be here for a very long time.
Yeah. Moving on to midfield, Dan Neil, who again is a player that keeps getting stick, and I don't know why, but he didn't have the most kind of standout game, but he did his role. I think he's playing in a kind of different, not necessarily position, but a different role in midfield where he's not kind of relied on to play the passes that we've seen in League One, especially where he's the creator. I suppose we know he can do that, but I think when you've got so many creators in the team, the likes of Roberts, Pritchard, Embleton, Clark as well, Ahmad occasionally as well, the kind of pressure on him to create the chances is obviously getting less. But in terms of the way that he wins the ball back, he plays the ball into Pritchard. It's a stat that doesn't necessarily mean too much, but he probably gets a lot of the kind of pre-assists in the goals that we score, and he is a very important player that, like I say, does get stick and seems unjust at times.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't get the sort of people who've been piling on him recently. It seems like after any game, you'll either see 10 tweets saying that he's the best midfielder that ever graced the earth, or you'll see 10 tweets saying that he's absolutely useless and shouldn't be anywhere near the team. And there's
Yeah,
sort of no in between with him, which I don't really understand. But I mean, as you say, he wasn't particularly outstanding yesterday, but he sort of just did the dirty work that needed to be done, and he helped get the ball forward. He always made as you said there, made the pass before the important pass. So I have no gripes with him, and I thought he did his job fine yesterday. But I'd say solid but unspectacular. I'll probably give him a 6.
yeah. Alongside him in a kind of deeper midfield role was obviously Elliot Embleton. Obviously Evans was suspended for this game, so whether people thought Matete could come in or Abdullah Bar maybe, who obviously wasn't actually in the squad at all yesterday, but it was Embleton that just dropped a little bit further back. Again, at times I do think he could have gotten the ball a little bit more and just showed his quality on the ball, but he got the equaliser, and as the game went on, he improved.
Yeah, no, definitely, certainly grew in the game that second half. Obviously, got the best start possible by getting the goal. He's another one for me. He's either invisible or he plays a crucial role in the game, and it's always one or the other. He's never really just all right. He's either bad or he's good. And thankfully, yesterday was good. I'd probably give him a 7.
Yeah. In front of them, Alex Pritchard, who, like we say, got the assist, and I think that's his first assist or direct goal contribution, I should say, since Bristol City. I think it was away, which
Hmm.
was obviously some time ago. But he looked better today. We had people in the box that he could aim for and showed his quality with that cross. Probably a much improved performance that the people that said he should be dropped would probably be retracting that statement now.
Yeah, no, definitely. To be fair, I'll hold your hands up again. I've been saying recent weeks if he didn't start playing a bit better, I'd probably say about dropping him for a game or two just to see if that would sort of motivate him to start improving. But he was very good yesterday, and that's just what we like to see. And he has the quality. He has the quality to be starting every game. There's no reason why he shouldn't be when he's got his head in it and he's playing well. So hopefully this is the start of a bit of a turnaround in form. We'll give him a 7.
Yeah. Jack Clark probably a little bit quiet compared to usual, but again worked hard. I think he started kind of centrally for this game. Obviously, he did that against Swansea, I think it was, and obviously got his goal within a few minutes of changing that shape. But again, got at defenders, looked to get us forward, and didn't do anything wrong really in the final third.
Yeah, no, definitely. He was a bit quiet yesterday, but you can't expect him to be the star player every game because no one's really going to be capable of that because it's a very tough league to play in, and he's been outstanding this season. Obviously, he's got like I think it's 4 goals, 4 assists, which but when he's been playing as a wing back most of the season, it's outstanding return. He's obviously our second top goal scorer behind Stewart, and he's another one who I really like, and I hope he's here for a good while because he's definitely got the sort of the quality and potential to grow with us as a club. So should we be looking at getting promoted in the next couple of seasons, I could definitely see him being a Premier League quality player in the near future. So I'll probably give him a 6 for yesterday because I can't really remember him doing anything. But that's no knock on him as I think he's absolutely excellent.
Yeah. And last but not least, Patrick Roberts obviously had James McLean just running in circles for the entire
Oh,
game, just about. A couple of chances in the first half. We've mentioned that goal that was disallowed, probably wrongly disallowed. He had a couple of other chances that went just wide of the post after he'd beat, two, three, maybe four players. Every time he got the ball, he looked to drive forward with it, beat his man, try to get a ball in the box, or like I say, get that shot off. He is becoming one of the most important players in the team, and I think that's especially since Ross Stewart and Sims dropped out. Roberts has had to step up, and yesterday was probably, obviously, you look at the game off the top of my head, which I can't actually think of now, um, where he scored a couple of goals, but I think yesterday, without getting a goal contribution, was probably his best game, and he looked the most dangerous.
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, he was just. I'm convinced that step over was some sort of those step overs he was doing was some sort of like hypnosis technique because the defenders were all just getting absolutely sent to the shops. He was rinsing everybody, and to be fair, the way he was driving forward, sometimes he was unlucky to not just have that little opening to be able to
Yeah,
to slot one top corner like whenever he can. But yeah, he was outstanding yesterday, and he really has improved and Joe Peel will come on leaps and bounds since he's been getting consistent starts on the side. Obviously, he's been at City, but he had them few low ones, which sort of probably didn't help his career. But nobody gets signed to that Man City team who doesn't have top quality, and that's exactly what he's got. He's an outstanding player, and
yeah,
yeah, I thought he was brilliant. I'll probably give him an 8.
yeah. In terms of man of the match, I think if a defender gets a goal and an assist in a 2-1 win, there's not too many other places to look.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, so Dennis Serkin takes that one for the game yesterday against Wigan, obviously on Saturday, depending on when you listen to this. But Tuesday is away to Blackburn, which I'm sure everyone's seen on Twitter have this habit of winning and then losing and then winning and then losing. So thankfully for Sunderland, they did win their last game, which obviously bodes somewhat well if you want to look too much into that for this game on Tuesday. Not going to be an easy game again. It's going to be another game without strikers. Another game where the likes of Roberts, Pritchard, Embleton, Clark, whoever else features in that kind of final third positioning will have to step up. Um, I think this is a game where a lot of people would look at a draw as a good result, but we know what Sunderland are capable of. They can go there, they can get the win if they play well. What would be a good result?
Um, see, it's a tough one because obviously, I want Sunderland to win every game, and maybe with all our players fit, if we had Ross Stewart there, if we had Stewart and Sims up front, I maybe would have said a win would be good for me. But to be fair, I'd probably take a draw because obviously they've got the Blackburn are a very good side. They've got some very good physical players. I mean, Sam Gallagher's an absolute giant, and obviously Ben Brereton Diaz, whatever he's called, I kind of pronounce that. He's sure he can score goals in this division, so it'll probably be quite hard to keep them quiet. But
Yeah,
if the defenders can keep it tight and maybe keep them shut out, maybe we could go get a win. But I'd definitely take a draw.
yeah. Blackburn haven't actually drawn a game yet this season.
They
Interestingly, I
haven't,
think they are the
right?
only team in the Championship. Let me check in this one as well, and League One. I checked League Two just for the triple. Um, but they're certainly the only team in the Championship, only team in League One, and only one of two teams in the EFL, Barrow included, to have not actually drawn a game this season. Like we say, they win, then they lose, and that has been a theme for quite a while now. I think the last kind of 10 games they've won one, lost one. But they are, I think, in the playoff positions at the minute. They are 4 points ahead of us. Obviously, a win on Tuesday would take us just a point behind them with a game in hand. Um, but like we said, Sunderland tend to play better away from home, which probably gives you more kind of hope that Sunderland will get a better result out of this one.
Yeah, no, definitely. We've been much better away from home than we have, obviously, at our stadium this season. Have we only won 2 games at home this season? Because off the top of my head,
We
it
have,
was literally Wigan and Rotherham, wasn't it? Which
yeah,
is ironic because those were the 2 games that we said
yeah,
season we'd win. But yeah, no, we definitely need to sort it out at home because we've obviously there's some games like the QPR game, which is some freak goalkeeper header that you can't help. But but we do need to start picking up more points at home. But I do trust them more more on the road. Obviously, that good result against Bristol, and we beat, obviously, absolutely disposed of Reading 3-0. So hopefully we can keep that sort of good away form going and maybe nick a win. There's no reason why we can't, but I'm not going to hold it against them if they don't.
Yeah, and I think performance-wise, the only away game that we haven't really performed in was probably the Middlesbrough game, and again we've talked about that Pritchard chance that he had in that game.
Yeah.
Could have easily got something out of that one as well.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. If we went 1-0 up at that part in the game, then it just completely opens up. Maybe we get the chance to nick another. But obviously Pritchard missed that, and then we proceeded to be absolute dink for the rest of the 90 minutes, which I mean can't be helped. Not every team, other than the European greats, are gonna have a great game every game. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
these players are all human, and they're gonna have off days. So it will be ridiculous to expect them to turn over every single team they play. But let's just, as we said, as long as they go on, they put the graft in the trial at best. We're normally happy with that. It's just when they sort of look a bit off the boil that it gets a bit frustrating. But I have no doubt that Mowbray's gonna want to put up a good show against his old side when we play Blackburn. So hopefully it'll be a good game, and hopefully we can get 3 points from it.
Yeah. Last but not least, if you had to go with a prediction for the score.
Oh. Well, part of me thinks the fact that they haven't drawn at all means that this has 0-0 written all over it. However, I'm gonna go. I'll go. I'll go 2-2. I think it'll be a high scorer.
I think a 1-0 win.
1-0 win for us.
Yeah. And
Nice.
last minute
Take that.
last minute winner from Elise.
Scorpion kick from the halfway line. Yeah.
Something like that.
To be fair, when I saw him on the train, I told him he needs to score 20 goals this season, and he said he'll try. So he needs to get that tally a little bit. So maybe he will score.
Yeah, I think he will. 1-0 win, at least in the 93rd minute, after only
That,
2 minutes of added time.
that's it.
Blackburn will
Yeah.
time waste, and an extra minute will get added on. Sunderland take advantage. That's how it's gonna pan out.
Spot on. I'd take that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But as always, we'll be back after that game on Tuesday, on the Wednesday, to talk about what happened during that game away to Blackburn, which, like I said before, is on Sky Sports once again. I think it's another game that actually ended up getting moved, so it was on Sky. And of course, on the Wednesday as well, we'll get a preview out for the next game, which I think is at home to Burnley, which is obviously one of the toughest games that we're going to come across this season. I think they are top of the league at the moment, and probably one of the best teams in the league, if not the best. But like I say, we'll be back to talk about that Blackburn game in the early stages of next week. But until then, we will see you later.
That's all, folks.